All right, everybody, good late morning or early afternoon. It's time for the Rooting Guide post-mortem, just to follow up on the week we just had. It is Tuesday, so we should be pushing the final remnants of that loss to the Niners out of our system. 48-hour rule is in effect. We're almost there. But before we forget about the Seahawks-Niners game that we lost, let's look back at the week that we had in football and try to process how the Seahawks should feel right now. And we're going to be covering things from multiple angles. We're going to be talking about things with respect to the Seahawks trying to make some success out of this season, trying to make the playoffs, trying to have on some level something to be proud of going into 2024, some degree of momentum. And we're also going to talk about this in terms of the draft because realistically, it might already be over. And in order for it to not be over, the Seahawks are going to have to start playing much better football over the next month. So we also have to think about this through the lens of picking in the draft. And I'm going to continue to say what I've been saying for a while now. I do not want to tank. I don't like tanking in this circumstance. I have zero interest in wanting this team to lose when there's still a chance for good things to happen. I want this team to make the playoffs and then start playing better, make a run, do something to give me some reason to believe that this team is headed in the right direction going forward. That is more valuable to me than picking slightly higher in the first round. Like, what do I care if we're picking high in the first round if I have no faith in this regime? I would rather have faith in this regime and be picking in the 20s because this regime is not going anywhere. So to me, the tanking stuff is goofy. But I do want to present that perspective because there's going to come a point in this season, in all likelihood, that the Seahawks are either effectively or mathematically eliminated from the postseason. And if that happens, then things have to change a little bit. My perspective might change a little bit. I might start to see the value in losing the last game or two to secure a slightly higher pick. I might say that's at least worth something. Winning when you're already eliminated, is basically worth nothing. All right, so Rooting Guide Postmortem, we're going to start on Monday because the ESPN scoreboard page currently has the Monday games at the top of the page, so why not? Both games had an effect on the Seahawks, one of them a big effect. But let's talk about the Titans Dolphins. Titans pull the upset. The meaning here is twofold. The Titans, they improve their record, which means our strength of schedule goes up because we play the Titans. So that's good, I guess. But there are also some admittedly minor, but nevertheless existing effects on the Seahawks draft. So let's go over to Tankathon here. The Seahawks currently hold the 13th pick in the draft. The Titans pick 9th. You can see the Titans are only one game worse than the Seahawks right now, and they have a slightly better strength of schedule. Slightly. That could change by the end of the season. In fact, it's probably odds-on favorite to do so because the Seahawks have played some good teams this season. So if the Seahawks continue their downward spiral, which is very possible, and the Titans can build on their big upset win from last night, then we might have something to talk about here. There might be actually something to get into here where the Titans actually end up picking lower than the Seahawks. And there's going to come a point where I'm going to see some degree of value in that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's worthless. I just don't think it's worth what some people seem to think it is. And that's going to be a bit of a recurring theme here if the Seahawks continue to lose. Honestly, if they win one more game, I think most people, or lose one more game, I think most people are going to start looking at this page and thinking we need these teams that are just ahead of us to win games. So we are currently 13th, Tennessee is 9th, and you can see how thin the margin is. They make up one more game on us, and they're picking behind us. So that's good, I guess. Packers-Giants was also actually a very good result on both sides of it. The Packers take a really, really bad loss that kind of cancels out their win over Kansas City and puts them in a little bit of a difficult situation now where they are no longer can be expected to cakewalk to 10 wins like I was thinking at one point. They look more like a 9-win team right now, and maybe that'll be enough. Maybe that won't be. But the Packers do not look nearly as much of a shoo-in as they did at one time. And on the other end of it, you have the Giants now at 5-8. You can see that they are also barely ahead of us in the draft order. They are one game ahead of us. We have identical SOSs. So if this does go the way where the Seahawks keep losing and the Giants are able to, well, keep winning, I'm going to go ahead and phrase it that way because it seems like they've got something real going on in New York right now. Then their pick could end up being below our pick, and that's another team we could jump. So that's a really good Monday night. Both these Monday night games went well for the Seahawks, I would say. So even though some of these edges are just little, they add up. And I think the Packers losing this game is huge because it cancels out their beating Kansas City basically. All right, so now we go to Thursday, Patriots Steelers. I don't I don't really see too much value here. If anything, we kind of wanted New England to lose. So I'd say this is a bad result, but mostly of no consequence. So let's jump ahead to Sunday now. Focus on this stuff. We got Buccaneers Falcons. Buccaneers pull off the upset in Atlanta, and I don't know how to feel about this one. This one's weird. I said on Thursday, I want somebody to run away with the NFC South and all the other teams to go away. That's not happening. Every team in the NFC South, except for the Panthers, is hanging around. And it could lead to a scenario where even though all three teams are bad, two of them make the playoffs because that's how the wild card might pan out. But it really is just kind of a mess in the NFC South right now. So, from a playoff perspective, I don't think this result helped us. I want Tampa Bay to just go away, and this loss would have basically made them go away. But now, I don't know. I think all three of those teams have a chance to win the division, and I don't know what to expect. And as for draft stuff, remember, whoever makes the playoffs in the NFC South will pick lower than us guaranteed if we don't make the playoffs. And it's very possible one of these teams goes like 9-8 and does get in as a wild card on top of the division winner. So we've got some stuff to untangle in the NFC South before I say anything super definitive. But speaking purely from a draft perspective as of right now, you can see that Atlanta and while we're here, New Orleans are only ahead of us in the draft order by SOS. They both have super weak strengths of schedule. So if we want to jump them, we're going to need them to win games. And Atlanta is not helping us by losing a game at home to Tampa Bay. So on that front, it's not a good result either. So Atlanta, get it together or lose out. Like, do one of the two. Stop lingering around like a stale fart. Nobody likes that. Like, get the fart out of your system, spray some air freshener, or keep farting. Like, don't let your old fart linger forever. So that's not good. Lions Bears. I guess this one is kind of good. I don't know. We're not going to catch Detroit, right? Like that's off the table. We're not thinking about that. It's Detroit's still going to win that division. It's not like we mathematically cannot win our division actually. So I'm not buying that we're going to catch Detroit in any meaningful way. And then you got the Bears at 5-8. I mean, that means they're only one win ahead of the Seahawks, but their strength of schedule is so weak. It's not like it's going to be easy for us to jump them in the draft order. They'd have to win probably two more games, and we would have to lose out. So I don't really know if that helps us. That's not likely. Although the Bears playing better football lately. So it can't be completely ruled out, but I seriously doubt that's going to amount to anything because I'm just going to say it. Even if the Seahawks are eliminated from the playoffs in the next week or two, I don't think we're going to lose out. I don't think we're going to go into the tank. That's not the way we do things, and I honestly have no problem with that. But that's what it would take. We would kind of have to lose out, and Chicago would have to win two more games out of their last four. Not likely. Okay, so Lions Bears, that's kind of a whatever game to me. I don't think that one really matters. Colts Bengals. We played the Bengals, so strength of schedule wise, we get a little bit stronger here with the Bengals winning, I guess. Again, this is AFC on AFC. The main driving force, honestly, in this game, I feel like, is we need some of these teams to make the playoffs, so the Broncos don't. so we can keep that third round pick as high as possible. But I don't know what the preferred result would have been. Now both of these teams, Colts and Bengals, are pretty firmly in the wild card hunt, whereas if the Colts had won, they would have solidified themselves in the wild card hunt, and the Bengals would have been kind of buried. So I don't know if this is good or not. It really depends on what happens the rest of the way. My gut tells me we would have preferred the Colts to win, though. That's just my gut on that level, but very little consequence here. Jaguars, Browns. I mean, the Browns, we played them this year, so them winning is good for our strength of schedule. And it's pretty cool to see Joe Flacco lace it up, put on his cleats, and chuck the football around one more time. That's been a ton of fun. Like, you guys have no idea how fun this is. But that's about the only consequence. Neither of these teams are going to be picking beneath the Seahawks in the draft. That's not really on the table here. Panthers, Saints. The Saints win, which I would prefer the Saints just go away. But if the Seahawks season goes the bad direction, which is, of course, as I keep saying, entirely possible, then we do have the factor of we could pick ahead of the Saints in the draft if they win another game or two and we keep losing. So I guess it plays to our advantage a little bit in that regard. But I don't know if that's enough to outweigh the fact that we now have 3 NFC South teams lingering around in the playoff picture. The good news is the Panthers at least held the L, which means they're holding very firmly onto that top pick, which I'm cool with because I don't mind the Bears getting the top pick. It's, again, better than Arizona getting it. So that is a pretty reasonable result. I don't love it. There are definite downsides, but again, it just kind of depends on what happens next, but it can definitely work to our favor. Texans broke our hearts against the Jets, just didn't really show up. Jets went crazy in the second half. And, I mean, Stroud got hurt. It's not really the Texans' fault. What are you going to do when your quarterback goes down like that? But, yeah, that first round pick they're sending to Arizona gets just a little bit worse, or better, excuse me, which, again, at this point, hats off to the Texans for doing the job that they've done to get that pick out of the top 10. It's almost certainly not even going to be that low anymore. But we'd like them to keep winning, and they had a chance to stick a knife in the Jets and end their season for good, and they won't quite go away. Rams, Ravens, we needed this one, and it took the whole game to get it. Ravens beat the Rams in overtime. Big one, huge sigh of relief. If the Rams had won this game, I feel like it would have been pretty much over, or it would have become really insurmountable for this team to make the playoffs. As it stands now, it's still, we might end up we might have to beat somebody else for the playoff spot. The Rams might just kind of have dibs over us because of the tiebreaker. We might just have to live with that. But I gotta be honest, I'd still prefer keeping that door open as much as possible. And the Ravens winning doesn't really do anything bad to us. Vikings, Raiders, another heartbreaker. This one, definitely closed another venue. The Vikings played awful, mostly. Miserable game. Absolute joke of a game. I can't believe this was a real NFL game that got played. Would have loved for the Vikings to have lost. I mean, if they were going to play this inept of a football game, they could have at least done us the favor of losing. Didn't happen. And now I think the Vikings, as discombobulated as they are set up decently to squeeze in as a wild card, which again closes off another venue to the Seahawks. Bills Chiefs. This game put the Bills back in the wild card race, which it makes it a little harder for the Broncos to get in, which is good for the pick. But other than that, it doesn't really do anything. And again, I keep saying this: a third round pick doesn't really mean that much. And meanwhile, the Chiefs keep losing. What if the Chiefs don't even? What if Denver wins that division? What if they get in that way? That would cause the exact same problem with that third round pick if you're thinking about that. So to me, I kind of consider that to be a 50-50 game. Like, it was good, it was bad, whatever. It kind of evens out. Broncos, Chargers. We did want the Chargers to win just because of the third round pick thing. That's really the only angle where this game mattered. Honestly, I guess from a draft standpoint, we kind of want the Chargers to win a couple games so we can jump them in the draft. but that obviously did not get helped by this game. And Eagles Cowboys just doesn't matter at all for us. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.